So let's get started. Welcome everyone. Got my coffee, so we are all ready to go. So what do we have in the chat? You don't know. Seven's asking how to publish an app for Play Store in Unity. I have the tutorial. So did you have you checked that one out for publishing it? Okay, so as is it the grade? Hi y'all. Hello. Okay. Seems like we are ready to get started. How's the sound, by the way? Is it good? Because I'm trying out to stream with Streamlab. Okay. Let's continue. Let us continue. You sound different. Yeah, my voice is a little bit, I guess, not at the best state right now, but I think we're fine. Sounds perfect. Better. Okay. So let's get started, and we're gonna do a 3D game in this one. So you guys might have seen me do the last Saturday we started the RPG, and it was 2D. So let's start with a 3D, and I had a request to start to make this game, I guess, and I decided why not. Let's try doing that. I still had to think of an idea of a game to make, so we're just gonna make a stack game. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, this is the game right here. So it's just the one. We're not gonna probably make the whole game, but let's see how far we can get. So that's what we're gonna be making in this stream, and let's get started. So I already have built out the scene, imported some FBX files, and these FBX files are from the Chimney assets and the platformer kit. This one here. So where it is, this one right here. I'll drop that as a link. Okay, let me get my chat. Okay, there we go. So I'll add that link if someone wants to download it. And that's what I'm using here. Just dropped some FBX files that I'm thinking of using. And this is the scene that I have set up for now. So I turned on some fog so that it would look better when I was taking a picture. But for now, let's turn it off, or let's just leave it. Okay, so is just the scene is just built out with just place them down, and that they have the large platforms at the bottom and stuff like that. But let's rebuild the whole thing, because there are a couple things that I want to change about it. Okay, so first we will remove everything except, I think the player. Will leave the player and one platform. So currently I have the player resize to half size, and I actually want to use one unit for my player. That's gonna be easier, I think, and that means that the platform will be able to handle, I think. Okay, I changed the snap grid snap settings. Let's go change those back to 5.5, and I have the snap grid on so that it will snap to the grid. So I have 1, 2, and 3 rows. Let's just do 3. I think that game had 5. Not 5. It had 4. No, actually, it did have 5. So 1, 2, 3. Well, 3 might be too hard to actually win. So let's actually increase that. So I'll increase by 1.5. Not in the y-axis, but in the other ones. Let's see if we can fit 5 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's good. I think we're good with that. What do you guys think? 5 is good? I think 5 is better. Okay. And now we can duplicate this platform. I can't stretch this platform, although probably be better if we stretch it. So the original idea, since I need to like stretch this platform to make it more to have less poly count, what I can do is actually add a cube and scale this cube to actually fit the size that I'm looking for, and use the good. Okay, X at 0. Scale 2, 3. And I'm trying to decide if I want to have the snow top or not, and I think it looks better if you have 2 materials. So let's do that. Let's actually have snow on top. So I need to 0.8, I think, too, and then we can duplicate it, then set it back to 1 and move it down to negative 0.2. Well, no, not negative 0.2. Negative. It's actually 0.8, right? 0. Let me turn off this block. So I just need 0.2. There we go. Okay, so we got ground top, ground bottom, and let's start working with some material. So I'll add material. This is gonna be my ground top. Add it to the top ground. For top, let's actually, yeah, I think we're gonna leave it white. I mean, we can change it from white and to green. And add another material. And this is gonna be our ground. Material folder, so brown, right? Okay, I probably should have left that FBX file so I can, let's drag it in. Turn off the light so that we can get the color. I want to use roughly the same colors I did there, so let's go for this material, select here, and for the snow let's use this color as well. I think we're not, yeah, I think we're good. Okay. I made my own game with Bolt. That's great. Did you publish it already? When are you going to explain your 3D character game that you made, or is it in your Patreon page? Because I'm very curious how you made it walk and jump and pick up stuff. Your work is awesome. So the 3D game, for that 3D game, I've used the same thing that I did for, I'll be showing that, but I decided to start first, like, since this is the first 3D game that I'm building for the package. I decided to start with just a simple one that we can build out in just one live stream and add that in, and then yeah, I think I'm gonna start working with that one. It does have lots of mechanics that I integrate into it, but you guys interested in seeing like that the 3D game to actually create like build it out? Because currently I've just spent like one live stream per game and try to get as much as I can in one live stream, so just to get the project started, and afterwards I'll be like adding new features and stuff like that in the background. So is that the game that you guys are interested in the 3D? Let me pull it up. Some of you might not know what I'm talking about. So this is the video, right? This is what you're referring to? The one that I did here? So yeah, I did made a lot of things. So because I was testing out a whole bunch of different different mechanics and seeing how they're going to work and how I can create super units with them and which structure to go with for creating super units and stuff like that. So that's why this game has a lot of mechanics built out for it. So yeah, maybe like next Saturday we can start with that. Maybe do like 3 live streams, like officially put 3 live streams into that game and see how it's gonna go. But in this stream we can just make this a simple one. So let's continue with it. And now, since I have the ground started, what I'm gonna do is create another empty object, and this can be platform. Let's say platform. Let's name it platform. Make sure it's at 0, 0. Reset it. And what I want to do is actually move it let's do this. I'm gonna move the platform so it's gonna start actually at the beginning of this platform, and also make sure it's let's see where we're working at here. 0.9. Never mind, not that one. So 0.9, I think. Okay, for some reason the platform's a little bit off, but let's add that in. And now our platform should be made out of that, like that. The reason why I did that is now if I scale it, it's going to be scaling from that point, meaning that it's going to be scaling forward only. So that's what I use that for. So let's set to 20, and now we have this long platform. Okay, let's add movement to our box. So let's add a box collider first. And a flow machine. We'll start with an embedded one, and let's undo that actually. So I'll add a box collider, and this box collider is gonna have a trigger. Let's see the size of this box collider. Okay, so I want to actually prefab unpack this prefab, because I want to create my own prefab. Whenever you use an FBX file, it actually creates a prefab, but that's not what I want here. So let's create that, and I will have a logic on each cube. So let's actually, yes, let's add a flow machine here. And each cube, what's the logic is going to be here. So I won't need start and update. I'll need on a trigger. This is going to be enemy. They are different types of enemies, but I'll just create the block enemy for now. So let's just do enemy, and if it enters, what I'm going to do is set parent. Set parent, and for parent I'll pass in none. Jeez, no. Okay, there we go. So for parent I'll pass in. Actually, yeah, I don't have to pass anything. I can just leave it at none. That's going to work. On trigger, it's going to set parent to none, which is going to stop the character from moving, which will stop this character from moving. Now, it will also okay, actually I'm gonna have to use a collider, not a trigger, now that I think about it, because it will require to have a rigid body on it. Well, there's different ways of doing it, but I'm gonna go with this one. So on collision, enter you very quiet. Yeah, my voice is not really great. Not really great today, so I'm trying to not talk as much as I usually do. Oh, this looks like my sound is actually only coming from one side. Let me fix that. Okay, yeah, we're definitely gonna make the third person controller. I'm gonna switch out the setup that I'm using right now, so there might be a little quick downtime. Okay, we're back. I couldn't configure my microphone to be stereo mode. Couldn't configure my mic to go to stereo mode, so had to switch out from. I'll have to figure it out that later. Back to my previous setup. just using OBS now for streaming. Okay, so let's set enemy, and let's continue on. We'll also have to add a rigid body here. By default, it's going to be a kinematic. So this is going to be our crate. Let's call it a I don't know what to call it. Whatever, let's just leave it as a crate. Add a prefab. Never move those materials into a material folder. Okay. And now I'll create another, and this can be our player. And the player is going to be made out of crates. But before we do that, we need to make sure that player is at 0, 0, reset, and okay, so that's the lowest part, and we'll add the player inside here. So for this, we're going to create a box. Box collider. Now let's start with the flow machine. So let's create a flow machine, embed it, and a graph, and on start, what I'll do is just move, and we'll be moving in the direction, let's say 2. Okay, so let's just quick setup for here, because I need to set it up so that we can start testing it out already. So this is going to be our enemy. Let's size it down, set tag for as enemy, and a box collider for it. Let's unpack it. Okay, let's try it out. I really need to pick up the ground a little bit. Okay, there we go. Pick that up. And let's add that, and we'll duplicate the crate. Let's see how it's gonna react when you have more than one crate. So for the crate, let's go select this. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to do here is set rigid body. Okay, well. Okay, it throws. If you ever get these errors right here, what's going on? Why am I? Is the live working bad or something? Yeah, I'll try to do the third person. Yeah, something went terribly wrong, I guess. I think we're back live now. Or are we? Yeah, okay. Sorry guys about that. It's not a very good day for streaming today. So let's schedule the third person movement tutorial. Well, the project for next Saturday. I'll probably still make a tutorial for it eventually, but I don't know where I'm gonna get around to making that. But for a third person, I just used the Sin Machine camera, and then with it I used the same controls as I used for same controls as I used for the first person controls. So it's just with the camera I used the free look camera, I think. Or actually I don't remember. I think it was a free, yeah, I think it was a free look camera that I used for it. Okay, so where were we? Okay, so I said that I want to convert this flow graph from embedded to actually a graph that we're gonna have here. So create graph, because it's gonna there we go. So it's right now it's gonna show this error, because if you're trying to modify a graph for a prefab, it just has a hard time to figuring out what you're doing, and some of the changes won't change in prefabs that you used. So let's set rigid body. Well, actually, I need to set kinematic. Okay, let's try rigid body. Okay, I think I messed something up, didn't I? So, no, looks good. Okay, I thought I had a 2D, rigid body 2D here. Set rigid body. Rigid body. Set kinematic height. Oh, it's an I. Okay, so once it collides with enemy, then I want to set parent to true. And that's how it's gonna work. And for the collision shape, let's see how it's gonna work. Okay, I need to change my camera. Change my camera. Oh, okay. So both of them actually collided. So I need to make a collision shape. The collision shape is probably smaller. Or okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Actually, I'm going to go edit the prefab, and instead of using the collision shape, I'm going to use the prefab, because it's still going to not a prefab. Instead of I'll add another box collider, and this box collider is can be the one that is going to be triggering. So I'll set it to is trigger. Let me edit this collider and make it smaller and all of the directions, and I'm just gonna be looking at the collision. I'm gonna be looking at the collision in front of it. So like that. And now for the graph, I'll switch again to on trigger. Because it's going to still collide with it when the players can be over trying to get over that that cube. So let's see if that's going to be better. Better. Okay. So there you go. That looks like it's working much better. Okay, and now for the player, let's add a camera that's going to follow it. So camera, Cinemachine, and I'm going to use a 2D camera here. The follow is going to be set to our player, and now let's modify it so the distance of follow, set it something like that. And now the angle. Okay, so I need to offset the tracker Y. That's gonna be good for now. Now let's test it out, make sure that the follow script is working. Does anyone else have this problem when you install Bolt for 2021? The error is saying that you have to so yeah, if you're using version 2021, you don't need to install Bolt. So because visual scripting is actually integrated into version 2021. So if you try Bolt, you need to only install Bolt if you're using versions 2020 or 2019. If you use in 2021, you already added in, so you can just create a script machine. They did rename it from flow machine to a script machine, so you can the component script machine should be available for you to use right off the bat when you start a new project. You don't have to import Bolt. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so let's add another crate, and let's see how this is gonna work. So we'll add another one and another one. But our players continue to move because because we have no logic for the player to actually stop when there's no children there. So we can add in a flow machine, add a check that we can do. So if already trying to use the 2021 wording of it. So if branch is true, and what we're checking for is child count. So child count, get child count. So if it is less than, it's less than 1, which is a 0. If it's less than 1, then we just want to turn off the move. This is going to stop the from our player to move, and we can actually at that point trigger the game over screen and stuff like that. Okay, so we got that. Now let's add the logic for moving our player from in the X direction. Right, yes, in the X direction. So we'll add a horizontal preset, I guess. Move horizontal preset. We'll add that, and for now, yeah, I'm just going to use the keyboard to move the character, but I think we need to add it to use the gesture input or touch input. They're all gone. Okay, so I do want to limit the player from going outside, so I don't want the player to go past what is this, 1 unit? So X1. And the way I can limit that is in my player. In update, let's see, I'm sure if I'm using fixed update or update here. So for move, if check ladder, so I am using fixed update, which is fine because I'm gonna check it in the update. Okay, so in update, then if we have yeah, I'll add another branch, and then if get so we'll do transform, we'll get the position, position, get X, and I'll do a absolute value so that negative and positive values are going to be both positive, and I'm checking if it's greater. So if it's greater than 1, then I want to run a clamp. Technically, I could have just clamped it, I think. Every frame, but I guess let's not change it every frame. Set position. Set X. And for X, we're gonna clamp this between a 1 and -1. It looks like I can use clamp on a vector. Oh, actually, no, there we go. So clamp minimum and maximum. So pass in the value. The minimum is going to be 1, -1, and the maximum is going to be 1. Pass that value in, and then I can enable changeable, so I can get the output right there. But need to make sure that I connect it in here like that. This should limit my movement in X directions. Could you make a tutorial about online RPG? Well, that's not really a tutorial. That's gonna be more of a series. Okay, so currently, let me add a quick restart ability. So for restart, usually like when I'm testing a game, what I do is create a restart, and actually I have a unit, restart scene unit that I built, and we can take a look at it in a bit, but let's add on key, on keyboard input, and I'll usually use just R for restarting. The restart scene is just pretty simple. It just says a load scene, checks the current game's object scene, and just uses that. Although I think it's probably better to use the scene manager. Get active scene, I think that's another approach, but let's just use that instead of the game object scene. Otherwise, it's just going to reload the scene that the player object is in. But after restart, you can see that the lighting actually changed. And the lighting changed because we need to go to render light, and inside render light, we don't really have a light setting that we're using. So let's create a new light setting. And we'll call it just light setting. And if you have the light setting made, then I think it works correctly. Then let's test it out. So if I click refresh now, actually no, it's still working. Still the lighting changes, so that's not good. Lighting. I think I might have to generate the lights or something like that. How bold a VR tutorial with bolt? No, I'm probably not gonna do a bolt VR tutorial. Yes, so that's right. Now the lighting is working. Maybe in a couple years, but I have plenty of things to do tutorials before I get into VR. Okay. So, because I make tutorials based on what I'm using. and what I'm looking to for using my games and stuff like that. And I don't see myself making any VR games anytime soon, so that's why I'm just trying to not focus on that. Could I make what? Could you make a tutorial about online RPG? The closest thing that I have for that is the Among Us tutorial, that series that I was making. So that's the closest thing to an online RPG. And I kind of stopped that one. I guess at the point where I started is like where you need to start working with UI, actually having like a game over screen and stuff like that. Because I got to a point where you could, well, I was doing like a freeze version of it, so instead of killing the player, you just freeze the player. But yeah, the next part, yeah, it would be like completing the game loop. So if a player gets frozen, then you actually restart the game, or you let them to go around and do things. You tried Godot? No, have not tried Godot. What data are you trying to save? Okay, just save. So probably at that point, because there is saved options for saved variable option in Bolt, and I think if you're gonna use saved variables, that's gonna be it's not gonna be really working as you want to. At that point, you probably need to store it in the data into a file or in a database. I think that the database is probably the better approach. Which will require you to set up a some kind of a database. Although I think you can just create one with Unity. It uses like SQLite, I think, database. But yes, I have not gotten to the database yet with Unity. I have lots of experience with databases, but not with Unity. Most my 7 years I worked with web apps, which were heavily using databases and stuff. But with the games that I'm making, I kind of didn't get to a point where I need a database. So, but I do. I think under video request in Discord, there was some posts about suggestions how to make that. So you can check that out. Maybe that's gonna help you out. I want to make an online RPG, and photon documents are not helpful. So yeah. Basically, I mean, photon really doesn't really have anything to do with it. I mean, you only need to be able to pass in data, pass the data around to your main server, which is basically the RCP calls, remote control protocol, using that, and I did cover that in the tutorial. Okay, so let's continue. So the next thing that I want to add is the ability of picking up a crate, and it's actually going to stack another crate here. So for that, I'll just use another crate. Oh, where's my crate? Okay. use just another crate. Why is my hex going to that? Okay. And I think I'll make it smaller, so like 0.8. So that there is a difference between the size, I guess. So move it up by 1.1. Okay. Unpack it. Prefab, unpack. It's gonna have a box collider. It's gonna just be a trigger. Let's add a flow machine. Start with embedded. And in here, we'll do on trigger. Not enemy. Actually, I'll just leave it empty for now. And on trigger, I want to trigger some logic on the parent of the object that I collided with. So we'll do component get parent, component get parent, get component in a parent. No, that's not what we're looking for. So get game object then, and get parent from this game object. Get parent. So that way I'll be because I'm gonna collide with one of the boxes, one of the crates, and then I want the logic to be triggered on the player itself. So we'll use a custom event. Trigger custom event on the player and add a crate. After I add a crate, and we can just destroy this object. So let's just call it remove. Delay of 0. That's it. In the player, we can listen for that custom event. Add crate, I called it. Spawn, and we're spawning a crate. And after we spawn the crate, I need to make sure I set the parent, set parent to self for this new game object. Now I still need to calculate the shift that I need to do. Follow rotation, ignore that. Using pole, we can do that or not. So right now it's gonna spawn it, but it's gonna spawn it really randomly. Really randomly. And I don't even know where it's spawned. So let me see what happened. Okay, so crate 1, crate. it actually didn't spawn it. We didn't get a successful spawn at so I am triggering a get object. Let me see what component are we getting here. Click play. Actually, it's gonna remove it so I'll be able to see it. I'll disconnect the remove and see. Something is not working properly. That's for sure. That's I can tell for sure. So it is getting player, which is good. Okay, but so I can connect this back, and it's not because of a delay. I'm still getting all of them. Actually, I need to reconnect that because I did it while I was in the play mode. Okay, so now let's see if the custom event. Oh, okay, that explains it. I misspelled great. Okay, now it should work. Now that should work better. So it did spawn it, and we still have it attached. Let me pause it. We still have it attached, so okay, so it looks like it spawned it there. Okay, now I need to spawn it in the right place, and currently if we take a look at this cube, it is located at 0, 0. So that means that next one is at 0.5 and 0.1. So I'm incrementing by 0.5 where it's going to be spawning. So that means that I need to set the position of my object to the by counting how much cubes I already have here and multiplying it by 0.5. I think that is pretty simple to do. So let's do that. Okay, so for some reason it's not actually spawning in the location of my player, which as far as I know it should have used to. Oh, probably, okay, because I didn't do the shift, it probably shut out because of that. Okay, so yes, since I am using the location of the prefab of the player to actually spawn it, I just need to calculate the shift. Let's create a vector 3 here, and the only one we need to change is the y. For the y, we can just get child count and multiply that by 0.5. So multiply scalar by 0.5. Pass that as y, and I think that should position it at the right at the top. Okay, we got that working, so we can now create a prefab from this. let's create a prefab folder. And we can place more of these long arm. So by default, the crate should have been is kinematic. I thought I set that, but looks like I didn't. Okay, but if I do that, and it's not actually working properly. Let me see if I need to add a rigid body here, and then I'll have to add a rigid body after, because I need it to behave as one object. I can't have all of them just do. Okay. I think to use that, I need to disable remove the rigid body from here, so that those colliders would be used as a box, colliders for a player. There is no rigid body. Okay, so that looks good. Very good, I think. So if I do that, it starts to use physics to actually move, and I don't want to use physics. So instead, what I'm going to do is actually create a just a holder of those. I'll just call it holder, I guess. Of the crates. And if I do that, we'll have to modify where I attach it to. So instead of self, it will have to attach to get a child. Not the best way of doing it, but I think just a quick solution. And then where I check for the child count, I also have to check child count not of this player, but of the other. And then for the crate, I don't think we're using anything here, so we're well, maybe not using it, but we need to be able to add a component. So add component, or does create component. add component. Forgot what it's called now. Component. Game object add component, that's the one. Wonder why I didn't find it. Okay, so in the type we're looking for is a rigid body. Because by default I don't have a component for our character, right? For our crates. And if I collide, I want to add that component so that component would stop. Well, actually, I don't think I need to add. But okay, yeah, I don't think I need to add the component. It should work. Should work fine without it. So let's just do that for now. And the last step where I need to change it is inside of my prefab. The create pickup, I need to change it so it would. Never mind, don't need to do anything here. Okay, let's just test it out. I think this is something. So remove the rigid body from here, and I need to put the rigid body inside of the holder instead. And there's last thing that I need to change is I need to check the child count of our first child. Oh, so the change that I had to do here was get component and get parent. Yeah, I knew that this solution is not going to be pretty, but I don't know. Just a quick solution that came to mind. Just a quick solution that came to mind. So there's still a shift. And that one is due to the fact that the stack is still wobbling when I pick up one of those crates. So I can't just go and freeze the rotation at X, and that's gonna prevent it from wobbling, so it's gonna fall straight down. It still wobbles the other side, but I mean, you can technically freeze all the rotations. Now you could just space out those pickups of the crate pickups far apart, and that's gonna I guess solve that problem. But well, not really solve it, but you just give a little bit more time for it to stabilize before you pick it up. So, and just like that, that's basically all the stack games that you have. That's just one way of creating that stacking capability. We can also go and add some coins if we want. Coins. I should have added the logic first before I duplicate them all. So, the machine, and I think it's just add coin. Drop coin. In fact, let's actually use a macro instead. Switch, and I think I can just use coin here. Coin. That should add all the logic that is needed for it, as far as I remember. And we can add a UI here. UIs. Click play. Let's see if those coins are actually gonna count. I don't yes, I don't have the player selected as a player tag, and I might need to select this one as a player tag as well, because the rigid body is under that one. So let's see if that's gonna work now. And it's not working because I don't have a collider here. Box collider is trigger. Just have to do all the steps for it to work. And there's still something off about it. So it is on trigger. Let's move the player back. Okay, so I think actually it's the collision is supposed to be on the crate. So this should be our player, because the box collider is actually under there. So I think it checks the colliders position. Okay, now it's working. But why our UI is not shown? That's okay, it's because I haven't zoomed in. Okay, so let's try it out, see what we have here. And if we're picking those coins up, yep, so that looks good. We can increase the speed of the player to make it a little bit more interesting. So let's increase the speed to like 4, 6. And then with that, we need to increase the speed in horizontal, because we need to be able to go real fast. Okay, that's really fast. So yeah. So now we can you can go ahead and add a finish line or something like that. If we successfully pass, or you can just do like to make sure that the player never gets to finish line. But let's add a finish line. Finish. This can be a box collider and let's use a cylinder for a finish line. I'll rotate it on the z-axis by 90 degrees, and then can make it 0.1, 0.2, 0.2, in length of 1.5, I guess. Pick it up, move it to the end. It's not working how I expected, and there's some weird... Oh, it's because we pick it up too fast, so the cube hasn't fall down all the way. So spacing these is really important, I guess. Otherwise, with the speed that we're traveling, the stack doesn't even have enough time to hit the ground before we pick up. I mean, we can also increase the gravity. Not in here, but we'll have to increase the gravity over whole game, but I'm not going to do that because I have other projects inside of this one. And with the finish line, we can do some logic here. for player, we'll add a box collider, and it's gonna be S trigger. Let me see, make sure that come on, focus. Chat is pretty quiet because there's not that much interest in this type of games. I mean, this more like a mobile hyper casual type of game, so it's not an RPG style game that everyone is dreaming to make. Yeah, RPG games take a lot of time, and it's more about the content that you create for it. These are more like just making one. The hyper casual is more like making one mechanic that's like interesting to play, and that's it. Player finish line on enter. I'll stop the movement, and we can also. Let's use a sequence here. Sequence. Stop player movement. And what do we have for UIs? We can use level complete. How does that look? Level completed. I'm not sure if that's the right. I think it's level complete, probably. Not completed. Okay. So we can enable that one. Player get here, and then game object set active. True. And we're looking for level complete UI. That UI looks nice. I guess that's a joke, right? Now, I haven't spent that much time with UI. I mean, it's just real simple. Google AdSense. I did use Google AdSense for one of my games that I did for Google Play and for Apple, but I think you can actually use Google AdSense with Unity. Like they have an option of actually integrating more than one advertising networks. Probably that's going to be the easiest integration, because as far back, I implemented it using like over a year ago, and that one required some actually code, as far as I remember. So I need to recheck that. But if you can, I'll check if you can do it with Unity ads set up. Their Unity monetization SDK. If you can set it up with that, then that's probably the route that I would go for using AdSense as well. Okay. All I found was Unity ads. Yes, that's the Unity added ones is the one that I made. But I think last time I checked, like you can actually in the Unity ads Unity monetization dashboard, you can add connect to your AdSense, and it's actually Unity is going to serve their the ad that will pay more. So either it's going to serve their ad or it's going to serve AdSense ad, based on where you can get from where you can get paid more for the showing the ad. Hello, I'm new. Do you make tutorials on making mobile game devs? So I didn't. I guess to keep the tractor going, it turned out to be a mobile game, because I actually published it on the Google Play Store. And most of the games, I guess I don't really do the inputs for the UI, but like the simplicity of the games make him like a mobile game. Use the same thing you did for Unity ads, but replace it with the Google ads. Since last night, but was being lazy. Yes, so technically the function names are probably different for AdSense, but yeah, you can use the same approach. It's all the networks are about the same. You just have a listener to when the ad is ready. When it's ready, then you show it and stuff like that. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about actually still using the Unity ads API, the Unity ads SDK, but you enable inside of Unity dashboard to actually also serve Google AdSense ads. And it handles the SDK actually is going to handle the switch between the Unity ads or the Google ads. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so where was I? Finish line. I'm still having. I think we're moving a little bit too fast for a player to actually be able to play this game. So I'll slow it down. Let's actually add a variable. No, that's not. Okay. I'll set it to 4. Make it a little bit more relaxing game. On the tractor game tutorial, I could not find the bolt thing for the attack button. Made on one myself. Build up together from 5 different tutorials. The attack button. Yeah, you talking about the joystick that I added? Okay, I think the movement of the horizontal movement is also too fast. Yes, so the Untitled Chapter Go tutorial, I started it for a game jam. Actually, there was an ongoing game jam, so I actually was doing it for the game jam, and at the same time decided let's try to make a tutorial, because I don't know. So I didn't really spend that much. I mean, spend that much time on making that game. But because I was also doing the tutorial for it at the same time, so it kind of took away some time from actually making the game. But and at the end, when it was closer to the game jam deadline, I've stopped making tutorials and I just pushed out a whole bunch of mechanics into it. And that's where the disconnect from like the actual finished game, and well, not actual finished, but the game that I submitted to the Google Play Store, and the one that I did tutorial on. So there was a disconnect there because of that, and that's why I decided to actually like make the new series that I'm making, which actually, now that I think about it, is like similar to what I have here, except it doesn't have the stack option. So you're not really stacking those. So I'm trying to make that, but also the idea is to make it so that I can add mobile controls for it as well. So I think I like how this feels. I'm still getting that sometimes you get that disconnect, and I'm not entirely sure why. It might be when I'm hitting the edge, but no. Okay, what's the time right now? Haven't been streaming for 3 hours yet, but what we can do is try to get the mouse control for it. So instead of using the keyboard to control, to actually get the mouse control. Currently in the package, I do have, I mean, I never showed how to use it yet, but I do have a swipe controls as far as I remember. There's some swipe, but it's just basically which direction you swipe. It's not what we're looking for. I mean, this probably would work for some like a subway runner, or what is it called, subway runner, or like temple runner type of game. For instance, if I do right, set position, well, actually not set position, but transform translate. So right would be 0.5, because it's gonna actually step, and the left is gonna be negative 0.5. This should be the X. X is not the Z. I wonder why I was doing that weird. Okay, so something like this. You were looking for and looking for days for a way to make that button work. I'm not sure that with the button that you're talking about, that the fire button. So this is how the swipe works. But that's not what I'm looking for this game. So you could use this for a subway, like a subway runner type of game, but for this one that's not going to work. And I don't think I made any. I do have yes, I do have the joystick inside here. I could use the joystick. Yeah, the fire button. Yeah, yeah. The fire button is pretty. I mean, there's not really nothing much to it, so that's why I mean, all you do is just add a button and then you listen to custom events. Yeah, for that I have a FPS hand model, and I want to make my game online. When I start, it shows only hands, not full body. Can add the player. So what are you trying to do is use the hand model for the player that is playing the game, but then for other players you actually can see the full player. Is that what you're asking for? Lasper, I think. Reposition the camera behind the player. You think that's gonna look better? Let's try it out. Let's try that out. Let's see what we have here. So y-axis is just so the reason why like the sideways, because then you can see exactly what's going on. Otherwise I think you have to go a little bit higher. Oh, okay. Okay, never mind. You weren't talking about this game. Okay. Let me rotate it. I think this probably the angle that I would go for, and then something like that. Okay, so still want to make the swipe controls, not swipe controls, but be able to move the character around. So the swipe is not going to work for this case. And let me see what I'm using here for the swipe raw. Okay, so I'll reuse some of this logic that I have here. Get mouse position. So on left mouse and hold. Actually, it's on hold. On up and down. On hold. So then on once I want to actually save the position. That will be my start position. I'll add another mask for my ground, because thinking of using raycast for it. Check out, thanks, okay. Check. This is also a nice game, but using almost the same as the tractor. Same mechanic as the tractor. Yeah, actually it is pretty much the same, except the stacking part, like you actually collect and you stack those cubes. That's something new. And then on collision, instead of you dying, you actually like leave one of those cubes behind. So there's a lot of similarities, and that's the thing with mobile games and hyper casual games. If they're kind of the same. They use the same mechanic of moving forward, and then you're just changing the rotation. I mean, not rotation, but basically avoiding the obstacles or something like that. And that's pretty much how hyper casual games work. The FPS and RPG games, like I said, that I'm gonna start making that next Saturday live stream. So I'm gonna start making I'm gonna go towards the 3D RPG style game, and we'll make some mechanics. So I see that you want a you're looking for one chest mechanic, I guess, so that you can walk around and find chests to pick up. So yeah, we can incorporate a chest, because I did have a request for a chest tutorial, but that one was for inventory management, not for getting some items or gold. So the reason why, like the biggest reason why I try to like not make those type of like FPS or RPG games for tutorials, because they do take a long time. Even the game as simple as Among Us, you know, it doesn't have that much mechanics in there. There is a lot of map creation and, like, I guess variation of mechanics, but even that, I mean, I think I did nine episodes on it, and I wasn't done with it, and the interest in it like dropped real fast. So I don't know, like, so that's the problem with making long, unless you make it a course that you know that once the person is invested into it, that they're actually gonna watch through it and learn from it. But it's more like, for instance, the RPG and first person, it's more like if I'll be actually making that type of a game, and then like doing for publishing, and then just making it online, so you guys can ask questions. But I don't know, that's not something that that's not a project that I want to tackle right now. But I will, like, for right now, I'm just gonna starting next Saturday, I'm gonna dedicate to start with like three streams. So 3 Saturdays. Next Saturdays, we're gonna be doing a live stream on the 3D RPG game. We'll see how it's gonna go, but that's what I'm committing to right now. Just 3 RPG. If it's gonna go good and you guys are gonna enjoy it, then I can continue with that. But if it's just gonna die off, then we're gonna stop that. Okay, so I want Ray, max distance. No. I want layer mask. Okay, so Ray, hit info, max distance, and layer mask. I think that's what I want. So for array, I just created the array. I think I did the configurations for the array. I don't remember entirely. And then for max distance, I think, yeah, we're not going to go more than 10. Then for layer mask, we need to pass in a layer mask here. And I'm just going to be colliding with the ground. Then for the output, we have hit info and a boolean. So let's switch and the boolean branch. If we did collide, if it's true, then we want set position. And for position, I need to get position first. The only position that we're changing is the X, so set X. And the value, so if it's true, set X and turn this to be chainable, connected right here. Set position, and the value is going to come from hit info, so raycast hit info, get position, I think I'm looking for, distance to transform, get point, so the point of collision, and I want to get the X. So I think I got that right. Well, let's see. I'm not sure about this main camera and get mouse position. I think that there might be something off there. That's gonna. How much did you make on keep the tractor going? I think it's like $9 or something like that. Okay, so that works. Probably would add like some smoothing to it because it's basically directly following my mouse movement, and also I need to add a clamp on the on my movement. So currently the clamp is right here. So we can remove all of this. Actually, all of that. And since I'm already doing the set here, let's actually just add a clamp before we pass the value in. We're just gonna clamp it. Let me move the position right here, make it cleaner. So just move that clamp there and all of that can just disappear because we're still going to be doing this every frame. So I think that should smooth it out a little bit. So it's really sensitive. I mean, actually, it's really sensitive on the screen, but I think on the phone, since you're going to be using, you're not going to be using a touch screen instead of a mouse, it's going to be much better. Okay, maximize the game screen. There we go. So let me test this out on the full screen, but still. Okay, so I think that's gonna be good for this video, I guess. For this stream for this game. It's a good starting template. So I'm gonna add that to the package as well. And I think next stream, next Saturday, I'm gonna start with the 3D RPG type of game. Okay, yeah, I wrote a few stories that I want to use for a specific game type for Android and VR, but I need more on-point tutorials to actually build them. That shouldn't really stop you from building a game. Like, you should just start making the game, and like once you get to the stopping point, just go and learn, look at some documentation or something like that, and figure out how to do it. If you have not made a game before, I would suggest to first make something a small game, something that you can complete like within 2 weeks. So like if you think that you can complete some kind of game within 2 weeks or something like that, it might still take like a month to complete, because usually when you're starting, it's hard to put time on how much it actually takes to make something. So, but when you have a small game in mind, just start working with that as your first game, so that you can go through the whole process and actually complete the game. If it's the first game you're trying to make and you go with an RPG game, that's a lot of for the first game, that's a lot of things that you're gonna have to learn as you go. With more obstacles, and set the timer to like 50 seconds. Endpoint well, the timer, there's no point of a timer in this game, or how the box stall will end at the same time. And give more points. Yes, so you could make like basically how some games make it, that they have, for instance, once you cross the finish line, then you basically you have coins that you can pick up, or if like you have a multipliers in front of it or something like that. There's different ways of making it, but I'm just gonna leave it like that. That's from this point. I mean, there's a lot of variations of this type of a game they can make for it. So one of them is like, I think it was like you basically turn on rigid bodies, and all of those fly, and like the furthest one that gets, that's the multiplier. Yeah, there's plenty of different variations for it. That will be fun. Good progress I made, and I have one just left to place and add and upload. Breakis has some good tutorials. Yeah, if you're using like Bolt, you can actually look at other tutorials that use C#, because you can recreate things with that are done with C#. Of course, when it comes to like when they start using singletons and stuff like that, that might require some understanding to convert it to actually a bolt graph and how that works, but I'm pretty sure it's still, you still can get that. Yes, you can like add a multiplier that's going to multiply the amount of coins that you collected in the game, in this level, I guess. Currently, I don't have that logic for the coins. I don't count that. Actually, it's not that hard to add. So let's actually add that in. So currently it's just counting total amount of coins, but we can also count coins per scene. So add another variable, we can just call it coins. Integer start with 0, and we can do the same thing here, just pass in the same value. I still like to do, I mean, although there's initialization for this, but I still like to make my own checks. For instance, if it starts, I want to check if the scene has coins. If it doesn't, then actually create that variable. That way if you don't add a variable into the scene, it's still gonna work, like, because this is a graph that you can actually use in different games. So, and because I'm trying to make reusable graphs, it just does that. So that's gonna display the coins that you collect. That's gonna, well, not display, but that's gonna actually use the coins that collect. Now for game UI, currently, what is it doing? Game UI for coins, I'm currently displaying the coins that are in total. So we can go to the UI prefab and add some modifications here. So for coins, I can go and edit. Is this the place? Looks like I had some testing that I did on, if you click E, actually it's going to multiply by 10. And I accidentally left it in. Let's see if it's actually going to work. Yeah, if you hold E, it actually multiplies. Whoops. Okay, so this part needs to go away. Okay, so the display is right here on update. Probably shouldn't do it on every update and have a cooldown here. So instead of doing it on every update, we'll just do a cooldown and update it to, let's say, 10 times a second instead. It's just, I think it's more efficient than just updating the text every frame when you don't need it. You can do a check and compare the previous value and current value and change it like that, but using a cooldown is much faster. And right now, what do we have here? on start. So I have a check here as well. Should really clean up the graph here, but let's just do it like that. And now what I was thinking of making is a variable, an object, a variable here that says display total. So total display total. This can be a boolean. By default, let's set it to true. And in here, I'll use a select node. Based on the value that we have here, it's gonna select where we're gonna actually display either coins from total or coins from the scene, which is gonna be so something like that. The reason why I don't like to use this approach, I'll show exactly why. It's fine if I have a prefab. Actually, even inside a prefab, it looks like I have to reset it. Reset. Yeah, the reason why I don't really like to use that is because of this problem of it's not actually like keeping the variables and stuff like that. So you have to, whenever you use it, you have to add the variables back in here to be able to control, and that requires you to actually know what variables are used inside. And that's why I try to avoid using object variables, although it's really nice that you can change them here, like but bolt is really configured. I mean, I think there's probably a reason why they couldn't have done it, so that it actually pulls up the object variables that you use in the graph and show them here. But yeah, it doesn't make it easy to actually use object variables, because each time you reuse a graph that uses object variables, you actually have to know the object variables that are used in that graph, which kind of defeats the point, I guess. Reset. Okay. I think I have to add the UIs back in for it to work properly or something like that. Okay. Oh, because I'm using the graphs, embedded graphs. Actually, okay, never mind. So the variable was added here. As just I was checking further along under the wrong thing, but so I want to disable that and just have it seen. Okay, so I'm kind of good tutorials. Okay, so that looks good, except we have a problem in our coin graph. Inside here, I'm setting the value So I was just pulling the value from the saved value, which is not what I will need to do. I need to actually use the scene variable, so I have to do a calculation separately. And I'm using the sum node right here because in the 2021 version of Unity, it actually replaced add node with a sum node. So if you I'm trying to make sure that the graphs will also work in the new 2021 without having a whole bunch of things that you need to replace. So that's why I'm using the sum node right off, like in 2020 in this version, which is I'm using 2020 Unity 2020. I'm using the sum to actually have that working. So okay, so there we go. That actually works now. I'm getting the right coin count based on how much we collected in the scene. Okay, so another thing that we added for this. Okay, so let's see what's in the chat, and then I think we're gonna be good for this stream. Okay, where did I stop? But I'm using the different. Okay, first. Okay, saw that you have coins, and you can use coins to buy new skins for your unbox, like colors and eyes. Yeah, you can create a shop system of some sort. Item has potential. Make good tutorials. Thanks. The one with the sum score helps me most. The one with the score helps me most. Okay. How much did you make on the Chimney hop that have 500 downloads? I'm not sure, but I think it's maybe like around $14 or $20 or something like that. If you guys really want to know, I can check that. I'm a very creative person. Ideas just come naturally to me. Yes. So let me check how much did the Chimney hop actually make. I did publish it on both Apple and so yeah, just checked it. Currently, it just made $28. So didn't even cover the license fee for Apple, because the Apple license Apple account is $99 a year. So yeah, I think well, with Google Play, it's $25, but it's just one-time fee, which is like, okay, that game actually covered that fee. But the $99 per year, that's a harder, I guess, fee to cover if you're not really serious about making a lot of games, because yeah, I think making a game is easier than making money from the game. Because yeah, you have a lot of ideas, you can create a game, but it's still the like people need to like it, and it's supposed to be interesting to play. But because like for instance, this game right here, you probably can find it that someone that made similar to this, and they might like have 1 million downloads in it. But the reason why they had 1 million downloads, not because the game is so interesting, but because of all the advertisement that actually did to get those downloads. And the advertisement is pretty pricey, so that's why those games usually are just have ads all displayed all the time, trying to cover that cost of getting the download. Okay, I think that's gonna be it for this stream. Thanks for joining, and I hope you guys found lots of useful information here. But that will be it for this stream. The next one up will be next Saturday, and in that one we're gonna start working with a 3D RPG game, and I'll try to make more than we did with the 2D RPG. I'm still working on those projects and stuff like that, but yeah, we'll go from there. So see you guys next Saturday, or you can check out other tutorials I'm gonna be making next week, throughout next week. The second part, I'm hoping to get the second part done for the new tutorial series by Monday or Tuesday, so that should be out. Other than that, see you guys later.